Good afternoon, everyone. We've had a great summer of sport here at Bowles Theory of Everything. We're in the middle of lots of things like the Women's World Rugby final coming up very shortly. The Women's Cricket World Cup is next week. The Ryder Cup has been on. World Athletics has just been on. We're in the middle of the Ryder Cup. I hope you've got room to watch drawing consistently to within 75 centimetres of the jack. Why 75 centimetres? Well, that's about between 2 and 3 feet. The reason is, if you don't get within 2 or 3 feet of the jack, you're not going to get many shots. In fact, you play a good side, you're going to lose one or more shots every end. Play an average side, they'll still get the shot. So you've got to get close to the jack, work at it. So during this year, going back to the start of the year, I've shown lots of videos, and several of these cover all the basic techniques that enable you to draw close to the jack. These are the choice of your bowl, how you grip the bowl, your delivery, finding the line, and mastering length. 3 months ago, I did a video on what you should place more importance, line or length, with particular reference to outdoors. But now we're back indoors, I'd like to bring all these skills together, fine-tune them, and get you to bowl consistently close to the jack. This is such an important skill for us bowlers that I'm going to need 2 videos to do it justice. In this first video, I'm going to recap all the basics that I hope will get you bowling to within that 75 centimetres of the jack. In the next video, my second, I'll show you how to fine-tune your techniques to get within 30 centimetres of the jack. So, the basic techniques. With regard to the type of bowl, grip, delivery technique, just apply this check to yourself. Are you bowling a consistent line and length? Even if you're not close to the jack, are you being consistent? Say, always a yard through, always a yard through, always slightly wide. But one bowl follows the other, and they form a bit of a group. Or do you splay them around a bit? If you're not bowling consistently close, look at my earlier videos about the grip. Is your finger on the apex of the running surface, your longest finger, the middle finger? Because if it's to one side, that's going to give you a wobble when the bowl comes out of your hand. What about twisting your wrist? So when you come down and you twist the wrist in the act of delivery because you think you need to give it an extra bit of length or an extra bit of width or an extra, it's not cricket, you're not trying to spin the ball. I tell people, imagine your hands in a plaster cast, so you're not twisting the wrist in any way at all, comes down smooth. Are you bowling with a pendulum type delivery? That is back and straightforward, straight down the line. You're not pulling across. And I had a video on that, it's very easy to do, particularly on the forehand, pull across. You have to follow straight down the line. So those are the basics that give you that consistent delivery. Once you've got those right, we move on to the 2 most important things, your line and your length. I'm going to show line first because there is a method to that, and you should be able to get the line within a few bowls in a game. And if you're not getting it, practice and you will. So the idea is you get your line first, then the length. So here we go with the line. I'll show you 3 basic line methods. First, bowl to a point on the bank. So here we are, I'm on rink 2. So the rough and ready guide when you're bowling indoors is to bowl for the number on the adjoining ring. So if I'm bowling backhand, I'm bowling at number 1 on the middle of the adjoining rink. Now that's only a start point, but that's quite a good guide for most indoors. If you're on a swingy rink and the carpet's just been stretched, or you've got swingy bowls, then you'll probably have to go wider. This has been stretched, this carpet. However, my bowls are fairly narrow, so that's the line I take. I go for that number 1. Now, sometimes that's obscured in a game. Somebody's standing in front, so you have to improvise, and sometimes you can bowl for the mat or the jack, which has been placed in front of that, that's a rough line. You take a point on that bank. Of course, if you're on the end rink, you take a point on the side. So if I'm on number 3 rink, I take a point probably where that last column is on the side. Another thing to remember is beforehand, you go slightly wider because the bowl is being delivered. If I'm on the centre of the mat, the bowl is being delivered wide of the mat there, so you have to take a wider point than you would if I'm on the backhand. The bowl is coming from the middle of the mat. If I'm on the forehand, the bowl is coming from there. So general rule is you go aim for a wider point on the forehand. When the mat is moved up, you have to narrow your line, because if I'm bowling from right up here and I still aim for the number 3, I've got a much bigger angle. So I'm going to be bowling too wide. So you have to, if the mat comes up, you have to come in, take your line in a bit. Now this is trial and error, but after 1 or 2 ends, you will get exactly where it is. And when you found that line, get your mat in exactly the right place where you get the accurate line. Quite often I put the mat where I can get the line more important than the length. If you can get that line, that's very good. So that's number 1 method, the aiming point. The second method is, I'll come back to the mat, or you can see it from here. I've placed 3/4 of the way down roughly a mat, and that's roughly where the bowl goes over at the apex of its arc. So I'll show you this, see if it does, but it's roughly there. So if I'm bowling, and that jack's nearly full length, the mat's about full length. So if I'm aiming for that number 1, the arc comes out towards the end. It just starts to curve in at that point and straighten and come into the jack. So, and there it goes. It's going over the mat. That's roughly the arc of the point, and then the bowl comes back to the jack pretty close. So that gives you an idea where the arc is. Now the third method is where, and there's lots of different methods, but this is one I know people do use. They merely look at the jack and then kind of estimate a width in their minds that they bowl at. So they don't have a specific point, they just look at the jack, which is good for the length. So they're the 3 methods. So of those 3 methods of taking your line, which is best? Well, method 1, which is one I use, it does guarantee you the line, but you have to make sure that you're looking at the jack and only look at the line at the last minute. Otherwise, you're going to be concentrating too much on the line and you won't get the length. Method 2, looking at the apex, integrates the length and the line, but the snag with that is you're bowling in an estimated area. And when you're bowling and you're under pressure, and you're bowling to an estimated patch of the green, that may break down. I can't really comment on the third method because I've not used that. So Okay, you've got your line. Now length. Now length is probably the hardest of all because there's no clear mechanical method. You look at the jack's length and tell your body to bowl that length. Your body should adjust itself to the length of the swing and the strength of the body movement. You have to internalize the feeling of the length and let your mind control your body. If you are continually going well past the jack, you may need a body reset by deliberately closing up your body, make your body more compact. So for example, when you come from outdoors and you're used to going big swing, big stride, firm grip like that, sometimes you come indoors and you can't quite stop that full delivery, that expansion. And if you do that and then you try and halfway try and slow down, that's like two faults. Your delivery's too wide and you're trying to stop the swing because it all should be smooth. So you can have a kind of body reset and think, right, I'm going too long, I'm going to get low and crouching, I'm all compact, I'm not going to swing, my whole body's like that. And that way you can still bowl smoothly within yourself. Same way if you're bowling too short, you have to unfurl yourself like a butterfly in spring. You have to come out. You might be going like this, but you need a bit more of that. Look carefully at the jack. Sometimes you concentrate too much on the line, like I was showing you before. And if you have trouble with getting the line, it's very difficult to do two things at the same time. I do a bit of coaching and I say, don't concentrate, don't try and change two or three things at the same time. You get one thing right and then the other. So get the line quickly and then concentrate on the length. Concentrate on that jack and let your body do the rest. If you try and force it, indoors particularly, if you think that's long, the tendency is to push it too long. And short, sometimes you bring it too short. Look at the jack, as if it's a fresh thing, let the body do the rest. I'm now going to do some demonstrations to how you can do some exercises to improve your length. And the one I'm showing you is adjustment, because if you can adjust, so if you're yard through and you can make that yard adjustment or yard short adjustment, if you can successfully do an adjustment, then if you have two or three bowls, there's a good chance that one of those will get in. So, but if you can't adjust and you're not on then you're not going to get to the jack. So I'm now going to show a bowl from the other end to here, and I'll see if I can just add 2 feet to each of my shots. Okay, see you in a minute. Right, I'm down here, the other end. The idea is I'm going to bowl fairly close to jack if I can, and then add 2 or 3 feet to each bowl, as if I'm being asked to add some weight. So first of all, I just go, see if I can get close to the jack, and wherever that goes, I'll just see if I can add a couple of feet on. So that was a good length. So now I'm going to just see if I can go a little bit past that, a yard inside that last bowl. See how that goes. I haven't got my touch yet indoors, but that was right. That was what I was trying to do. Come a yard inside. So I over adjusted with the third one. I got that one right where I was aiming, but you've got to practice this on your own. It's not easy, as you can see, and you know, we haven't had many indoor games yet. That's my excuse. But one thing to remember is, indoors particularly, the changes in length don't require much effort. They're let the body and mind do it, but a yard on is hardly any extra effort. You can see that. It doesn't really look much different, the delivery. So that's a brief recap of all the techniques and the line and the length. And I've got videos on all of these, and put them all together, and I think you'll be bowling close to the jack. That's not bad. If you can actually go within 2 and 3 feet, that's not a bad standard. But if you want to, I think deep down, you'd like to see a bowl nestling alongside the jack within, say, 30 centimetres. That way you'll be putting a lot of pressure on, you'll be winning a lot of shots and a lot of games. So next week, I'm going to take you further down the drawing path and explore line versus length too, because you could say which is more important, line or length. Now, I'm going to argue that line is a little bit more important than length, because if you bowl a jack high bowl, it very rarely counts. If you put one or 2 feet in front, it's very hard to beat from the other end. Very hard to add for the other person to add the extra. So line or length, and exercises to get closer. That's what we're going to do next week. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good watch of the summer sport, and there's World Bowls on as well. So please look at that. Please look at my videos and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks very much. Bye bye.